آثارهم إن لم يؤمنوا بهذا الحديث أسفا إنا جعلنا ما على الأرض زينة لها لنبلوهم أيهم أحسن عملا وإنا لجاعلون ما عليها سعيدا جرزا أم حسبت أن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم كانوا من آياتنا عجبا إذ أوى الفتية إلى الكهف فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا فضربنا على آذانهم في الكهف سنين عددا ثم بعثناهم لنعلم أي الحزبين الأحسى لما لبثوا أمدا صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات اللهم صل على محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار يا أبا عبد الله لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم يا أبا عبد الله إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة ولعن الله ابن مرجانة ولعن الله عمر بن سعد ولعن الله شمرا ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصائبك فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بمضالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحرب وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم. وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانه وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشيائكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم وتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بمضالاتكم ومضالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشيائهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة وأن يثبتني عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة. وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني طلب ثاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد، اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد ابن معاوية، عليهم منك اللعنة أبد العابدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ به أولا، ثم العن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم العن يزيد خامسا والعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانه وعمر بن سعد وشمره وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود وثبتني قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام.
At this time, to inshallah start the program, I'd like to ask Brother Salman Jafri for recitation of poetry with Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
وعوز بالصلوات. سيهاني لا شيء خورك يتان شمرنے کی سرحانے لا شے خور کے یہ تان شمرنے کی سزا محبت ابن علی کی خوب ملی سزا محبت ابن علی کی خوب ملی تباہ گھر بھی کیا مفت تو نے جان بھی دی تباہ گھر بھی کیا مفت تو نے جان بھی دی صدا یہ لاش نے دی دور ہو تو یہاں سے شقی علی امام من است و منم غلام علی علی امام من است و منم غلام علی ہزار جان گرامی فدائے نام علی سرحان لاش بآواز بلند صلوات.
Sorry, I'm drinking now. I'm kind of dehydrated.
اور ایک بآواز بلند صلوات.
Salawat.
راہ آنکھوں سے کرے طے ولولا ایسا تو ہو راہ آنکھوں سے کرے طے ولولا ایسا تو ہو سجدے کرتا جائے شوق کربلا ایسا تو ہو سجدے کرتا جائے شوق کربلا ساتھ ہو راہ آنکھوں سے کرے طے ساتھ لے جائیں گے جنت میں غلاموں کو علی ساتھ لے جائیں گے جنت میں غلاموں کو علی، رہنما و شافع روز جزا ساتھ ہو، رہنما و شافع روز جزا ساتھ ہو، راہ آنکھوں سے کرے طے، ہاتھ حر کے کھول کر پہنچایا شین خلد تک، ہاتھ حر کے کھول کر پہنچایا شین خلد تک، رہنما ایسا تو ہو مشکل کشا ساتھ ہو، رہنما ایسا تو ہو مشکل کشا ساتھ ہو، راہ آنکھوں سے کرے تھے، کہتے تھے اکبر سے حضرت جب میں گھوڑے سے گروں، کہتے تھے اکبر سے حضرت جب میں گھوڑے سے گروں، تھام لے بازو کوئی اے دلربا ساتھ ہو، تھام لے بازو کوئی اے دلربا ساتھ ہو، راہ آنکھوں سے کرے طے، ڈوبتا بیڑا بچایا سر کٹا کر شاہ نے، ڈوبتا بیڑا بچایا سر کٹا کر شاہ نے، کشتی دین نبی کا ناخدا ساتھ ہو، کشتی دین نبی کا ناخدا ساتھ ہو، راہ آنکھوں سے کرے طے، ولولا اے ساتھ ہو، سجدے کرتا جائے شوق کربلا ساتھ ہو، راہ آنکھوں سے کرے طے، بابا زبران صلوات.
Jazakallah, Brother Salman. One more loud salawat for him, please. At this time, I'd like to request Brother Zen for a recitation of poetry with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. تشنا دہن سوکھا گلا بے شیر اور یہ حوصلہ گردن میں تیرے حرملا تو مسکرا کے سہ گیا تاریخ کے اوراق پر اس کربلا کی جنگ کا تو نے ذرا سی دیر میں نقشہ بدل کر رکھ دیا اے فاتح کربلا اے فاتح کربلا ہے حلق میں ناوا کا پھل لب پر تبسم کا عمل اس طرح سے تو نے کیا اسلام کی مشکل کو حل پوتا ہے تو کس شعر کا ثابت یہ تو نے کر دیا منسوب جس کے نام سے ہے شاہ لافتہ اے فاتح کربلا اے فاتح کربلا معصوم نے جب جنگ کی افواج میں ہلچل مچی میدان سے منہ کو پھیر کر رونے لگی فوج شقی ظلم و ستم کے بام ادھر گرنے لگے سب ٹوٹ کر اصغر تیری ایک ظرف نے قصر یزیدی ڈھا دیا اے فاتح کربلا اے فاتح کربلا 2-3 دن کی پیاس ہے لیکن تجھے احساس ہے آدا سے پانی مانگ کر اب ہوگا شرمندہ پدر اس واسطے سوکھی زباں اصغر نے دکھلائی وہاں پھر اس طرف کر کی کما اور اس طرف من کا ڈھلا اے فاتح کربلا اے فاتح کربلا اصغر کا خون بہنے لگا مولا نے چھلو میں لیا چاہا زمین پر ڈال دوں انکار اس نے کر دیا اس خون ناحق کو لیا شاہی زمن سوچا کیا کر دے سپر دے آسماں منکر فلک بھی ہو گیا اے فاتح کربلا اے فاتح बला इनकार सुन कर आपने सुई नजफ फिर रुख किया बेटे के खून को बाप ने चेहरे पर अपने मल लिया और बाद कत्ले बेजुबां गाइल बसद आहो बुका कहती थी ये असगर की माँ ये शाहिदी बच्चा मेरा ए फातिह कर बला ए फातिह कर बला सलवात
Jazakallah khair, Brother Zain. One more loud salawat for him. At this time, I'd like to request Sister Robab for recitation of poetry with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I've been wanting to write this poem for many years, and alhamdulillah, bi'idhnillah, I finally found the words. So for anyone who needs this, I hope it hits the mark. This is called Baba Rahma. In the middle of the desert, in an unfamiliar land, a great warrior of Kufa treads across the desert sands. His men and animals are thirsty as they reach the caravan, guarded by Abbas and his wali, Imam Hussein. Hussein sees the thirsty faces, the dry lips of men and horses, and extends his share of water to Hurr and all his forces. Abbas quenches every horse, he sates the thirst of every man, and Hurr's soldiers come together to pray behind Imam Hussein. The tiny infant of Hussein is still in his mother's arms. His neck is still intact. He has not yet tasted harm. How strange it is to think of the kindness of Hussein. He could not bear a horse's thirst. How will he bear his child's pain? Is this the same Hussein whose children will beg for water? Is this the same Hussein whose thirsty children will be slaughtered? Hussein intends to go to Kufa, but Hurr stops his caravan. He wants Hussein to live, but Ibn Ziyad has other plans. An order soon arrives to divert the son of Fatima, and Hussein is redirected to the plains of Karbala. He is forced to set up camp far away from shade and water, the way animals are sequestered in preparation for their slaughter. The nights of Muharram dawn, and Hurr's conscience cannot rest. He cannot contain the pain of the war inside his chest. Perhaps somewhere in the distance he can hear the children weep. Perhaps the cries of Al-Atash are depriving him of sleep. Perhaps he is remembering his hand upon the reins when he stopped Abu Abdullah as the governor ordained. Hurr paces like a lion, his thoughts in disarray, as he contemplates his actions in light of Judgment Day. He has been promised many riches and a world of wealth and power, but will any of that save him when he sees the final hour? What excuses will he make when he stands before Allah if he engages in the slaughter of the household of Zahra? A decision lies before him between hell and paradise, and heaven is Hussein in Hurr's awakened eyes. A single glance from the beloved can change a lover's fate. His heart has seen Hussein and he cannot look away. So Hurr secures his place amongst the greatest ta'ibin and seeks forgiveness from the grandson of Rahmatul lil Alameen. When a normal man forgives, he turns away the one who hurt him. But when Hussein acquitted Hurr, he did not punish or desert him. Instead, he gifted him the most infinite reward. For 1,000 years, that sacred gift has flourished and endured. Of all the honors ever granted to the creation of Allah, to be amongst the righteous martyrs that were slain in Karbala is a gift the angels covet. There is no greater destiny than to sacrifice one's life to save truth from tyranny. 100 million souls have wished they could have been in Karbala, yet Hussein chose the man who hurt him to be so honored by Allah. The one who made his children cry from the agony of thirst was given the sacred privilege to drink from Kawthar first. In that moment, in that instant, the grandchild of Rasulullah unveiled for us the secret of the mercy of Allah. The unmitigated mercy of that tender-hearted Abd reunites us with the sweetness of the mercy of his Rabb. Our hands are bound together with the contrition of that man, our hearts aflood with awe at the creator of Hussein. Hurr stopped Hussein from settling near the river forcefully. Hussein quenched the thirst of Hurr from the well of certainty. O lovers of Hussein, so weighed down by guilt and shame, come back to the Lord who loves you, make a pathway of your pain, and do not look for faults within the broken hearts that are all around you. Perhaps there is a hidden horror in every person that surrounds you. Have mercy in your outlook, and God will offer you his grace. Perhaps your mercy will illuminate the beauty of his face. Perhaps your mercy will awaken a soul that seeks revival. Perhaps your mercy will inspire a wounded heart that craves survival. As a child, I often pondered the true meaning of Bismillah and found a beautiful tafsir within the plains of Karbala. If Ali is the door of ilm, then Hussein is the door of rahmah, reuniting every creature with the mercy of Allah. Salawat.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Rabah. One more loud salawat for her. At this time, I'd like to request Brother Faizan for recitation of poetry with the loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. जो भी मसरूफ सलाम शोहदा रहता है, जो भी मसरूफ सलाम शोहदा रहता है, गो वो रहता नहीं पर नाम सदा रहता है, जो भी मसरूफ सलाम शोहदा रहता है। शिमर कहता था यही माँ है अली अकबर की, शिमर कहता था यही माँ है अली अकबर की, जिसका एक हाथ कलेजे पे धरा रहता है, जो भी मसरूफ सलामे शोहदा रहता है ये शर्मिंदगी पानी के न पहुँचाने की, है ये शर्मिंदगी पानी के न पहुँचाने की नेज़े पे भी सर अब्बास झुका रहता है जो भी मसरूफ़ सलाम में शोहदा रहता है गो वो रहता नहीं पर नाम सदा रहता है शाम होती है तो ऊँटों से उतरते हैं हरम शाम होती है तो ऊँटों से उतरते हैं हरम पर सरे शाह तो नेज़े पे चढ़ा रहता है जो भी मसरूफ़ सलाम में शोहदा रहता है गो वो रहता नहीं पर नाम सदा रहता है पर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलवात
Jazakallah khair, Brother Faizan. One more loud salawat. Respected Sheikh, elders, brothers, and sisters of faith, Assalamu alaikum. Our condolences to the Imam of our time during these first 10 days and these days of mourning on the greatest tragedy of the martyrdom of Abu Abdullah and his companions, alayhi salam. We are honored to have Sheikh Amin Rastani speak at this Ashura here at CFK. Jazakallah Sheikh for accepting our invitation. The community looks forward to listening to and learning from your speeches. Before I ask the Sheikh to ascend the member, just a few reminders. Like previous years, the programs for this year's Ashura Majlis are scheduled to begin at 6:45 p.m. with the recitation of the Holy Quran and Ziyat Ashura, speech by Sheikh Amin Rastani, and then Salatul Maghribain and Namaz to go. CFK will also be hosting two private majalises during this Ashura. The first will be an Urdu Majlis hosted by Brother Sultan Rizvi and family at 7:30 in the morning here at CFK. Speech by Maulana Mudassir Musfi Shah. The second will be a Farsi Majlis with Sheikh Amin Rastani immediately after Salatul Maghribain. Huiz Hussain is having a blood drive on Wednesday, July 26th here at CFK. Please pre-register. Mo'mineen are encouraged to take part. Currently, there are about 40 slots open with only a few days left to register. The link to register is present on our WhatsApp and email announcements. There is a stall set up by the representatives of Savior USA for the sales of abayas on the sisters' side tonight. Proceeds will go towards charity. Sisters are encouraged to stop by. The Zahra Trust will also be setting up on the men's side tomorrow and will be raising funds by selling books and t-shirts. Brothers are encouraged to visit as well. Here at CFK, we aim to serve the community while being responsible with your donations, as it is your contributions that enable us to bring to you these great speakers and keep our doors open. We thank you for doing your part in helping us to achieve this objective by pre-registering and using the links present on our WhatsApp and email announcements. We also do not do any active fundraising between programs. Sponsorship slots are available online and updated every week at cfkdfw.org. We request you humbly that you contribute as much as you can and become a part of the Azadari for Abu Abdullah. Alhamdulillah, we are blessed with the tawfiq of attending these majalises for Sayyid al-Shuhada, and with that intention to accommodate all attendees. We request all brothers and sisters to come forward and fill in all the empty slots around us so that we may accommodate as many mu'mineen as we can without disturbing the Sheikh and our attendees during the majlis. We are also requesting that attendees work with our parking volunteers and carpool if possible to get the most use out of our limited parking spots. A reminder for everyone's safety and security, please do not park on the fire lanes. We would like to remind our parents about our dedicated mother's room. This room has a live feed and has been set up so our kids can be accompanied by their mothers to get accustomed to sitting and listening to the programs in a lighter, less restrictive setting. With this, we hope to bring ease to our programs, attendings, and mothers for these coming nights. As always, event details are posted on our webpage and our WhatsApp group. On our website, you can sign up for our newsletter, find the QR code to join our WhatsApp group, and donate and sponsor these holy nights. For opportunities to help behind the scenes, or if you have any questions, please speak to myself, Brother Zunair, or any of the volunteers. Before I request the Sheikh to begin his speech, I would like to request the sisters to please remember to please lower your volume and request a Surah Fatiha for the marhumin for tonight's program sponsors. Let us also include all of our own marhumin and mominat. Before I request the Sheikh to begin, please, I would like to request everyone to try to limit speaking in the main hall as it does deserve the main speech. And with that, I would like to request Sheikh Amin to ascend the member to begin his speech for tonight. Ask their brothers and sisters to move as close to the member as possible with the loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Before the Sheikh begins, there is a car outside, a Nissan license plate SNG 2523. The car is still running. It's a Nissan license plate SNG 2523. The car is still running.
Thought it might be my car. It's going to be a problem. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين. We were speaking about the different inspirations we can take from Ashura. So one of the things that, inshallah, I want to speak about tonight, or take inspiration from, is how tight-knit the little caravan and community of Imam Hussein was. Now, of course, this caravan, as it was making its way towards Karbala, it was being more and more refined. It wasn't like this from the beginning. There were a lot more people on the way to Karbala with Imam Hussein. Of course, as this caravan was shrinking more and more, lots of them didn't know that this caravan is going to end up in Karbala. And so each had their own reason to be there. I don't want to necessarily say they had bad intentions or malicious ones, or ones of personal interest. There might have been some who felt like this is the way to go, but as things went by and time went by, they felt like, no, this isn't going to be something that's going to succeed in the outward sense of the term. Yeah? No. They must have felt that, okay, it doesn't look like this is heading anywhere, so let's just drop off of this, let's call it bandwagon that we've jumped on. But as it was refined more and more, it reaches a point where it's pretty solid. And this little caravan, something is binding them together, the individuals in this caravan, that I want to speak about a little bit tonight, as well as a community who wants to follow the footsteps of the Imam as followers of the 12th Imam today, right? So we are the community of the 12th Imam, whether we like it or not. And we are on a little journey as well, it's as if. And so are we going to be as tight-knit as the caravan of Imam Hussein or not? So I want to talk about that a little bit. So in the following stages, what we want to talk about is that during the end of times, our scholars point out that the relationship between the individuals of the community are something that actually might lead to the zuhur of the 12th Imam. They play a part at least, or can play a part. This wilayah that we have amongst ourselves is something that I've noticed different scholars are paying a little more attention to and speaking about, because they believe that the relationship between the believers is not just any other relationship that might be discussed in sociology. Some pronounce it sociology. I don't think that's the right way to pronounce it. It's sociology. I actually checked before coming. Okay. So, yeah, this is something that our scholars are speaking about, you can say maybe more and more. So what I want to do, inshallah, I'm going to talk about a little bit, give some examples of what our literature says about this togetherness and this jama'ah versus being isolated and on my own or on our own. And then once we go through that literature, we want to, in a very short period of time, dissect what this relationship between the mu'mineen is all about. Is it just like any other social gathering that we have across the globe, or is it a little different? Is it something real, or is it something conventional, as they say? Once we go through that, we want to find what the reason is that this is not just a normal relationship that mu'mineen and believers have amongst themselves. There's something special there. That's what makes it a real relationship, not just a conventional one. And finally, some of the hadiths that we have in regards to how the believers, when they deal with each other, it is a good way of figuring out how much wilayah they have in them. In other words, you can gauge your wilayah of the imam through the wilayah that you have with each other, inshallah. So these are some of the things that we want to talk about tonight, to take inspiration from Ashura and the togetherness and close and tight-knitness of the community and the caravan of Imam Hussein, and take some of that for ourselves, inshallah. Recite salawat. Yes. It seems that because it's the end of times, or it seems that it is the end of times, Shaitan, one of the things that he targets is this actual very matter of togetherness. In other words, he likes to see us isolated. He likes to see us break off from the rest and just be on our own. This way, he can take care of us separately. So we have in our literature tons of it, actually, that points out that in Islam, what matters is the jama'ah, is the togetherness. I'm going to go through some examples, and some of them are pretty interesting, actually. Some of them we've heard before, some of them might be new to us. Number one, for example, all the emphasis on Salat al-Jama'ah, okay, something that we're used to and all of that. Of course, the Sunni school has done a little bit of a better job when it comes to this matter. Who are we kidding? And the fact that they make sure that they pray most of their prayers in Jama'ah. Of course, they have more resources and all of that, so I'm not going to necessarily say it's our fault, but it seems sometimes we might be able to do better here. But why is it the case? Think about it. In our Shia sources, how much emphasis there is on Salat al-Jama'ah. And so the Ma'sumin, they'll explain that, okay, if this many people in the Jama'ah, this much reward. This many people, this much reward. To the point where it reaches a certain number, it might be 10 even, if I'm not mistaken, that from there on, the Imams are like, we can't even count. We can't even count the rewards that are going to be written for the ones who are taking part in this Salat al-Jama'ah. To the point that the Holy Prophet, they say he would take attendance as if in his time to see who's coming and who's not coming. Not to like call them out necessarily, but he knew that this culture is so instilled in the believers that when someone is not showing up to Jama'ah, and this happens over a period of time, there must be something wrong. In other words, the default is what? Is Jama'ah. To the point that I can tell something has happened, something must have happened if a certain individual that I always see in the masjid is not showing up anymore. Yeah? You can tell something is wrong because they're not showing up. When 40 people recite dua, we have literature that says that dua is answered. So why do we get together in the nights of Qadr? Personally, I sometimes like to be on my own. But all in all, it's better to be in a group of brothers and sisters and individuals. We have literature for that. We have stories. Imam al-Sadiq says, my father, Imam al-Baqir, whenever he had a hajah, there's something that he needs from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What would he do? This is an imam now we're talking about. He can go in the corner of the home and do some dua to Allah, and inshallah Allah will fulfill that hajah that he has. But what would he do? It says that he would gather the family, no matter how many we were, 10, 15, 5, however many, and he'd do dua and tell us to say Amin. So, okay, we're getting an idea here that there's something real about being together. Okay? Now, some literature might use the number 40. Other literature is saying no matter how many they were. In Hadith Kisa, you know, the thing that we know better than the Quran sometimes, that one. In Hadith Kisa, it says, what does it say? It says, Ma dukira khabaruna hada. Yeah, mashallah, yeah, they're saying it, you see. Now I should test us with some Quranic verses and see if we can complete them. ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا. It says that this account of ours isn't mentioned anywhere while there is a jam'un min shi'atina wa muhibbina. There is a group of our lovers and our Shia. إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة. Yeah. Or نزلت عليهم الرحمة ونزلت بهم الملائكة. That when you are a group and you remember this story of ours, blessings will come down and the malaika will descend upon you. All right, so there's something real apparently about this group and being together. Our scholars, they also mention that sometimes there's a person in a gathering, let's say in a gathering like this one, who really has that inkisar we talked about last night. And they're heartbroken. And they need something really from Allah. And they have reached a point where they are experiencing and feeling the fact that only Allah can take care of this. You know, it's like when you're in a ship, the Quran even gives this example. You're in a ship and the ship is sinking. Who do you turn to in that moment when there's no one else to help you? You turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That type of feeling that we have, that there's no one else that can help me but Allah. Sometimes, some of our scholars say this, there is a group of people that are doing dua. Everyone's like doing their normal dua. There's one person there who is actually heartbroken. Because of this person's dua, all of a sudden, everyone else's dua is answered as well. If the relationship here, in such a setting and gathering where one person's heart is broken, it affects everyone else. If this relationship and connection wasn't a real one between the believers, it doesn't make sense for one person's dua being accepted equaling everyone's dua being accepted. Yeah? If, for example, how does electrocution take place? How does it happen? Yeah? If wires aren't connected to each other, if you don't touch the wires, if there isn't an actual connection, electrocution never takes place. Oh, it's only when you actually touch the wire, an actual connection takes place, that electrocution takes place. Yeah? I'll give you a story. This is what I'm saying has been scientifically proven by me. Okay? So I'm going to give you an example. That a real connection has to be there for electrocution to take place. For some reason, I don't know why I did this one year, and what makes it even worse is my dad, he has like a PhD in this. Okay, so it's embarrassing when I told my dad this happened. What happened? Well, my laptop wasn't working, and for some reason when I pulled the plug out, I noticed that one of those, the outlet, one of them was like kind of crooked. So for some reason I bit down on it to fix it, to straighten it up, yeah? But for some reason, just my whole body started shaking, yeah? A real connection was established at that moment. And I wish that connections like these between me and Allah would happen. That never happens. The only time it happens is with me and the electrons. Anyway, scientifically proven, brothers and sisters, that electrocution only happens when a real connection is made. Where if there's one live wire, it can affect anything that comes in contact with it. Why? Because of a real connection. Here also, if there wasn't, this is the point I'm trying to make, if there wasn't a real connection amongst the people, why should it be the case that one person's dua, because of them being heartbroken, affects everybody else? Something to think about. Or for example, this one's an interesting one. Remember last time we talked about one of those thugs, and I said there's more examples of them? There's a person that I've mentioned before. Some of you have heard his name, especially if you're from an Iranian background. You've heard his story, Rasul Turk. Rasul Turk, who was also referred to as Rasul Divaneh, the crazy one. His name was Rasul. He was an individual. He was also a thug. Everyone knew what this person's all about. The guy would drink, do everything wrong in the book. Yeah? This person, I'm not going to tell you the story right now. Imam Hussein changed his life, okay? And of course, he showed respect to Imam Hussein when he was supposed to. Just like later on, we'll talk about Hurr and how he showed respect to the Imam when he was supposed to. So, in parentheses, let me just say this, brothers and sisters. There are shortcuts sometimes if we do the right things. We know something is right and just do it. Yeah, that will help us somewhere else. This Rasul, he could have, because they got on his nerves, he could have messed up one of the majalis of Imam Hussein, but he bottled it up for Imam Hussein. Guess what? Imam Hussein, in his own magical way, brought him into the fold of the lovers of Imam Hussein, to the point that this is what I want to say here. The likes of Ayatollah Uzma, Sayyid Ahmad Khansari, which is my hero. He's buried next to Allama Tabatabai in Qom, actually. This Ahmad Khansari, which is known for some crazy stuff, by the way, I'll just share one with you. It's very, very famous about him. He might have passed away maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I don't remember exactly. That, or maybe a little bit longer than that. I don't know. But we have a lot of pictures of him. Yeah, most of them are black and white pictures. Anyway, this person, I'm just saying this on the side so we understand what type of person we're talking about here. This is a person who they wanted to do surgery on him. And because he was a marja' taqleed, and in his opinion, not all maraja' share this opinion, but in his opinion, if he was going to be put to sleep when they're doing surgery on him, the taqleed of his followers is going to become problematic in that time period that he was put to sleep. So guess what he does? I mean, what would any of us do? Psych. He said, I'll stay awake. It's fine. Just let me know when you want to take out the blades, and I'll just be reciting some Quran, you know? Just the usual thing that any of us would do, probably, right? So he starts reciting Quran when they want to do surgery on his stomach, and they do the surgery, and it's all over. Now, this is not something from 300 years ago where we can't verify. This is something of 40, 50 years ago, okay? And it's a very famous story of him. This Ahmad Khansari, that you can tell, is a special person. He says that I want to be in the majlis that Rasul Turk, this probably illiterate individual who's been a thug all his life, but then his life changed because he showed a little bit of respect to Imam Hussein. I want to be in the majlis that he is in. Something is going to reach us through him being in the majlis. So this connection is a real one, brothers and sisters. They're asking for us to ask the brothers to move forward, inshallah. If you can move forward a little bit with the salawat. You see, the sisters know what they're doing, right? From the beginning, they did what they did, but I'm seeing on the brother side, a little bit different than the sister side. Yeah, if you can just inch your way closer, and I know up front it's going to get a little more congested, so you guys don't need to come any closer. This member belongs to me, okay? But the rest of you, if you can slowly make your way forward. I don't like it when you get too close, you know what I'm saying? Hadith, if 40 people get together praying over a janazah, you've probably heard this one. And these 40 people say, Inna la na'lamu minhu illa khayra. Oh Allah, we don't know anything but good from this person. The hadith says that Allah says that my servants, you don't know this person. I know their sins. But because you all have testified and gone together, inni qad ajaztu shahadatakum. I accept your testimony. Okay? This is a real connection that believers have. Or else it wouldn't have real effects. وَغَفَرْتُ لَهُ مَا عَلِمْتُ مِمَّا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And I have forgiven this person of whatever they've done that you all are not aware of. And finally, this one's also interesting. It was a first for me when I saw it. It says that if you want to eat at home, don't just have a table where people come and take from it. You know, the kids come and go. Every person grabs something and goes. No. Sit at the table together. Why? Because there's a hadith by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that says, فَإِذَا اجْتَمَعُوا عَلَيْهَا, when the family gets together around that dastakhan, that sufra, that table, Allah nadara ilayhim bir-rahmah. Allah looks at this family with rahmah now and mercy. بِالرَّحْمَةِ لَهُمْ فَيَغْفِرُ لَهُمْ قَبْلَ أَن يَتَفَرَّقُوا. And so Allah forgives their sins before they get up from the table. But we're just eating and just socializing at the table, right? No one's like saying no dhikr at the table, hopefully, right? That's one way to lose weight, by the way. And say dhikr at the table. But no one's going to ever use that method for losing weight, okay? To say dhikr at the table is not something that happens. No one's worshipping at the table. Why should ghufran be taking place? Why should forgiveness be taking place? Because something else is going on here. All right, so this is just a little tip of the iceberg of what we have in our literature in regards to being together, togetherness, tight-knitness. Gosh. So these kinds of things that we have, which shows us that, moving on to our next point, that the relationship here is a real relationship, as I've been alluding to again and again. It's not like a bunch of marbles that are all scattered. When you bring the marbles together, has anything changed in reality and in the universe? Nothing has changed. It's just a bunch of marbles now closer together. Yeah? Maybe physics will say something about the proximity of these, maybe having some form of energy or synergy. I don't know. But all in all, you get the example I'm trying to make here, or give. That it's just like a bunch of marbles that were like a foot apart each. You bring them all together. Is there anything going to change? No, nothing's going to change really. Because the connection here, or the relationship between these, is not a real one. It's just a conventional one. Convention will say, this is a group of marbles now, because they're close together. But that's about it. Reality, philosophically speaking, is just the same 10 marbles. They're just located in a different location. That's what it is. The proximity of the mu'mineen, though, apparently is different. They say it has a takwini effect. Something that whether you like it or not is there. There is reality to it. But why? Why isn't it just like the marbles? Well, because we have other examples of things gathering together, coming together, and because they come together, all of a sudden they have a real effect, like the cells of our body. When you bring enough of these cells of the body together and the body comes together and we're a person and we have the body, what happens? Well, when you smash your foot against something and you're in pain, what happens? At the nighttime, the eyes don't go to sleep. What do the eyes have to do with the feet? Eyes are way up here, the feet are down there. Well, there's a real bond and connection between these limbs. Yeah? It's not just like a bunch of marbles that are close together. That's the type of relationship the mu'mineen have. But why? What is this string that brings the beads of this tasbih together? Well, that's where the scholars explain that it is the string of wilaya. In some, this wilaya is going to be more, and some it might be less, but it's there. Okay, it's kind of like these tasbihs, where you see the string. One part of it, is wearing out, but the other part is thicker. The ones that you get from cheap places, or sometimes the beads are like that. Actually, the beads are tiny. Then there's one that's huge, But all in all, these beads are coming together with the string of wilaya. Okay. And so we have hadiths that tell us this, that they tell us that there's a real connection here, yeah? And it's obvious what the reason for that is. For example, the hadith says someone was with the imam, the fifth imam. His name is Jabir. He says, I was with the fifth imam. تَقَبَّضْتُ بَيْنَ يَدَيْ أَبِي جَعْفَرَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ. تَقَبَّضْتُ, in Farsi we say, مُنْقَبِض شُدَ بُدَامِ. I wasn't feeling too good. I got sad. When you're sad, you become munqabiz, they say. Taqabbadtu. Something just made me upset when I was with the fifth imam. فقلت جعلت فداك ربما حزنت من غير مصيبة تصيبني أو أمر ينزل بي. Oh Imam, for some reason, sometimes just this this spontaneous sadness befalls me at that moment, without any actual tragedy befalling me or anything else happening to me. What's going on? And it reaches a point where my family notices it in my face, my friends notice it in my face. قال نعم يا جابر. The Imam said, yeah, that's true. That happens. إن الله عز وجل خلق المؤمنين من طينة الجنان. Allah has created the mu'mineen from one clay, and that is from the clay of Jinan and Jannah. وَأَجْرَى فِيهِمْ مِنْ رِيحِ رُوحِهِ. And He has put in them, yes, a breeze of His ruh, of His spirit. فَلِذَلِكَ الْمُؤْمِنْ أَخُو الْمُؤْمِنْ. Because of this, there's an actual connection between you all. Okay, understand that. There's an actual connection between all of you, to the point that the mu'min is the brother of another mu'min through mother and father. So the Imam is saying the exact opposite of what we usually tell each other. We say, yeah, he's my brother, yeah, from another mother. Or what's the other one? The father one? There's another one too, they say. This one's more famous. That's my brother from another mother, or sister from another something they say. I don't know what they say. Huh? From another mister. Good one. All right, so that's what we say when we're really close to somebody. We're acknowledging that they're not my real brother or sister biologically, but it's as if they're my brother from another mother or sister from another mister. Okay? Yesterday we were reciting Majzub Tabrizi's poetry. Today we're talking about Mr., sister, and stuff like that. It's all good. Anyway, the Imam here, what does he say? He says, a mu'min is your brother from your mother. Okay? But not biologically speaking, of course, obviously, but the Imam is taking it to the next level. Here we say a brother from another mother. He says your brother from your mother. أَخُ الْمُؤْمِنِ لِأَبِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ. From mother and father. But you're like, Imam, biologically we're not siblings. Yeah, you're right. I don't want anyone to run with this now. Be like, yeah, all of the brothers here are mahram to me. All the sisters are mahram to me. No, that's not what it's saying, obviously. But the Imam is trying to hammer in a point here. That's how close you actually are. There's a real relationship and bond and connection between you. فإذا أصاب روحا من تلك الأرواح في بلد من البلدان حزن حزنت هذه لأنها منها. And because you all are from one soul, as if, what happens is when one of you gets upset somewhere else, sometimes some of you feel it here. We've all heard, They say this about Siamese twins sometimes. If one of them feels something, the other one feels it somewhere else. We have stories of some great scholars during the Saddam war against Iran. What happened? That the guy says, I woke up in the middle of the night and I had a pain in my heart. And I noticed the time on the clock. Later on, they told me, your son on the battlefield has become shaheed. What time did he become shaheed? Oh, it was the same time that I woke up. Until today, I have that pain, he says. I might talk about that some other time. So this is one example, brothers and sisters. We have other ahadith as well, that this connection is there between the mu'mineen. But guess what? The connection that's there between the mu'mineen isn't one that's just limited to the mu'mineen. As a matter of fact, let's go a step further. The connection that the mu'mineen have amongst themselves, you find the same version of it between them and the Ahlul Bayt. And we have hadith for that as well. All right, so I'm going to share that with you too. Which from all of this, we can understand that, okay, if we all have such a bond and connection, but at the same time, we have the same bond with Ahlul Bayt, then what is it that brings us together? It was the wilayah. It was the wilayah that we had with Ahlul Bayt that was bringing us together. I'll repeat. If I notice that the hadiths are telling me that I have a relationship with all of you, at the same time, other hadiths are telling us you have a relationship with Ahlul Bayt, there's a connection, a real one, then in reality, what was the connection between us? It was because of that connection up there, the wilayah of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, that actually is the connection between all of us. Let me share this hadith with you as well. It's very nice. It says that there was a person by the name of Rumayla, which it says was one of the close companions of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam. It says, وَكَانَ قَدْ مَرِضَ. This person gets sick. And so Imam tells him, he says, Ya Rumayla, you looks like you got sick and you were ill. But he says, like, how do you know, Imam? And then the Imam says this too. He says, and after a while you felt a little better, and so that's why you came and prayed with us. Like it probably was like a Jummah or a Salat al-Jama'ah, something. So this person has an illness that doesn't let them go to the masjid anymore, but he feels better. And so he gets up and goes to the masjid. The Imam tells him that. He said, Ya Sayyidi, how do you know that? How do you know that this happened to me? He says, Rumayla, ما من مؤمن ولا مؤمنة يمرض إلا مرضنا لمرضه. There is not a believer out there that gets sick or ill except we also get sick and ill because of their sickness. Now someone here might say, oh, does that mean there's always a Muslim out there that's going to be sick, so does that mean the Imams are always sick? No, we need to get the point the Imam is making here. Okay? The Imam says, look, we are aware of what's going on, and we feel what you feel and what you go through. And that is one of the things that we need to keep in mind when our 12th Imam isn't someone that we can see with the physical senses. The time of ghaiba is a time for us to realize that although we don't see him physically, but still all of this is going on. The Imam goes on, وَلَا حَزِنَ إِلَّا حَزِنَّا لِحُزْنِهِ. There's not one of you out there who gets upset and sad except that we become sad for them as well. وَلَا دَعَا إِلَّا أَمَنَّا لِدُعَائِهِ. And there is not one of you out there, this is pretty cool, there is not one of you out there that does dua except that we say Amin for them. So the relationship between the Imam and us is a real one. If the first hadith I covered says that when one mu'min gets upset somewhere, another mu'min might feel it, we get the same thing with the Imams, which shows that in reality, the connection that we all have together is going through them and their wilayah. Okay? وَلَا سَكَتَ إِلَّا دَعَوْنَا لَهُ وَلَا مُؤْمِنٌ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٌ فِي الْمَشَارِقِ وَالْمَغَارِبِ إِلَّا وَنَحْنُ مَعَهُ. All right, so I don't need to translate the rest, it's fine. The part we needed, I covered. All right, so there's a real connection between us, and the reality of that is that this connection that we have actually is an emanation and manifestation of the relationship that we have with Ahlul Bayt and Ahlul Bayt have with us. And so if that's the case, then it's very easy from here on to test. If I want to test how much iman I have, and gauge how much of this wilayah I actually have, maybe one of the ways to gauge it is what? Is to see how much I care about my fellow Muslim brother or sister. How much I care. Now, I want to give you some stories of some of our ulama again, just to get an idea of how they care. And it's not just ulama, it can be other normal people too. But these are examples from our ulama. There's a person by the name of Sayyid Mahdi Qavam. He was a lecturer and reciter in his day, maybe once again 50, 60 years ago. Look at this. He delivers a lecture somewhere or delivers a series of lectures somewhere, and the people are generous and they take care of him. They give him a gift. And the amount that's in there, they say was a pretty handsome amount that they gave him. All right, so what happened was, after this series is over, he's with one of his friends. He says, come with me, I want to go somewhere. Where do you want to go? He says, don't worry about that part. Let's go. They go. They reach a street, an alley. He gives this envelope to him. He says, go knock on that door, open it up, and give them this and tell them this is a gift. But why don't you just take it yourself? He says, they know who I am. I don't want to do that. So he goes, knocks on their door, gives it to them, comes back to Sayyid Mahdi Qavam. He says, these people were so happy. They couldn't believe it, and they needed this money so much. He's like, yeah, that's why I didn't want to go, and let's go. On the way back, he tells his friend, can I borrow like $20 from you? Because I need to buy some groceries for home. What? You just had like $1,000 on you, right? But you did that, and then now you're borrowing money, right? Well, these people, they have a strong iman. But I just want to say this on the side though, that a balance has to be struck though. We have to be careful. Now, I don't want people, we don't need people, although I know you guys aren't going to do this anyway, to go and like give everything away right away. You know, no, not like that. It has to be reasonable, but we can't be tight-fisted. This is something I'm just saying on the side. This person knew what he's doing. He knew the amount that he can give, and he gave. The point I'm trying to make is that he understands, however it happened, that there is a brother or sister out there in need, and he reaches out and helps, takes their hand. Now, these are the people that we're talking about. These are the ones that if they want to gauge their wilaya, I think they can say our wilaya is at 100% or way up there. Or like, for example, Ayatollah Khorasani, his name is Akhund Khorasani, very famous, and his book till today is studied in the Hawza, one of the main textbooks. That if you haven't studied that one, like you're kind of looked down on, you know. It's one of those very important, famous books that you study in your 9th and 10th year, at least in the system that we grew up in. Okay, Kifayatul Usul, it's called. Anyway, you'd spend sometimes days on one line of that book, just letting you know. This Akhund Khurasani, he was the marja of his time, the student of the great late Shaykh Ansari, the one who had a lot of students of his own. It says, the story goes like this, that someone came to his door one night, a Hawza student, knocked on his door. Back then, you could see the maraja easily. Nowadays, you can't even see me, you know. Back then, one of these ulama, he was telling me this. He said, yeah, there was a time I was in Najaf. You would go here, Ayatollah Khui's office. Hey, what's up, Ayatollah Khui? You know, hey, over here, Imam Khomeini. Like, what's up, Imam Khomeini? Like, it was like that. He was telling us. Nowadays, it's not like that. You know. Anyway, he knocks on Akhund Khurasani's door in the middle of the night. He says, "My wife, we are due. My wife is pregnant. We are due, and we need a wet nurse. What do we do? I know that one of the servants that you have in your home, one of the people that, you know, back then they all had someone in their home that was helping. They know somebody that can help us right now. They know a wet nurse that can help us deliver this baby. Can you please have them give us the address?" He says, "She's asleep right now. But I also know where this person lives. Let's go together." This marja taqleed in the middle of the night goes out with this individual. They find that wet nurse. The baby is delivered, and this marja taqleed gives a little something to that Hawza student as well, and says, if you ever need anything, don't ever hesitate to ask. This, fulfilling this need of this individual when it comes to your door, yeah, this is what it's all about. If I want to engage my wilaya, the least is that I won't get upset if people come to me with their hajat. Or if I get upset, it's upset because I won't be able to fulfill it maybe sometimes. But I know and I understand that this is what it's all about. This is what Jannah is all about, brothers and sisters. All right. And so that's why we have these kinds of hadith as well. I gave you some stories, but I'm going to share a hadith with you as well as we make our way towards the end, inshallah. The hadith is talking about the same thing, that look, if you don't have or you don't live up to that wilaya that you have amongst each other, then don't say we have wilaya. Oh, Ahlul Bayt, I am your Shia, I love you so much. Well, there are some signs for that. There's ways to gauge that. The hadith goes like this. This person says, I was with the 6th Imam, so someone entered. Someone entered from another city and was telling us about how he's moved there now, etc., etc. Okay, the Imam says, tell me about the community there and the brothers that you have there, your brethren in Islam. Huh? What is your relationship like? He said, they're awesome, they're great. Great people, this, that. He starts praising left and right, just like how I praise Dallas wherever else I go. And so the Imam says, okay, I have a couple questions. كيف عيادة أغنيائهم على فقرائهم? The wealthy ones in that community of yours, tell me about how they visit the ones who are not so well off. He says, not too much. He says, okay, forget about visiting them. How much do they ask about each other? Check up on each other. Hey, is everything okay? Is everything going the way it should? Is there anything I can do for you? He says, that's also qaleel. That's not too much. He says, okay, not a problem. Sometimes you can't visit somebody. Sometimes you don't have time to ask how somebody's doing. Sometimes, I mean, we understand the community is so big, you might not even know everybody. All right, tell me this, how much do they actually give to those who are in need in the community? And then he says, oh Imam, these things that you're asking about, this is an akhlaq that I don't think we have too much anywhere. Something to that effect. And so the Imam, he says, oh, okay. كيف تزعم هؤلاء أنهم شيعتنا or أنهم شيعة? So if that's the case, then why do those people over there say that we are Shia then? How is it possible for you to be Shia, but we have this issue? Wilaya. So we always thought that to have wilayat of Ahlul Bayt, it's about matam, it's about majalis and all of that. That is true. But in Farsi we say it's shart kafi. It's shart lazim, but it's not shart kafi. It is a condition that has to be fulfilled, but it's not the only condition. There are practical implications to this wilayah. If the connection we have is a real one, then it's going to have real practical implications as well. Like we have some hadiths, it goes to this extent, that if you're married and you have a servant in your house and you're set and all of that. Back then they had servants. Now we're broke. We can't afford to have maids and stuff. Maids are doing better than us, sometimes at least, or the companies that have hired them, the corporate world. You know what I'm. So anyway, it says that if you're married and you're set and you have a servant at home, but that person, your friend, is single still, and they don't have a servant at their home, if you are a mu'min, they're a mu'min, your servant should be going there and helping them out too, with washing their clothes and things like that. What? Are we like, are you saying we're like one big family? Yeah, that's what we're saying. All right, so it's not just, oh, my father, my mother, my cousin, we're blood relatives. No, we're all blood relatives. All right, speaking of blood and speaking of helping each other out and all of that, it just hit me right now. Yes, I was asked to remind everybody that on July 26th, what? There's a blood drive, inshallah, that you all will register for. I want the slots to run out so that I won't have to do it myself. All right, which brings me to the final segment of this talk, inshallah. And that is that one of the sheikhs that I know, that I respect a lot, he also has some discussions on this matter that we're talking about. This wilayah that's amongst us. He points out in Ziyarat Ashura even, we have something like this, okay? In Ziyarat Ashura he says that we don't say, Inni silmun lakum. What do we say in Ziyarat Ashura? Silmun liman salamakum. What's the difference between these two? The difference between these two is, you either say to Imam Hussein, oh Imam Hussein, I could care less about anyone else out there. I am at peace with you, oh Imam Hussein. But that's not what we say in Ziyarat Ashura. What do we say in Ziyarat Ashura? In Ziyarat Ashura we say, I am at peace with the ones who are at peace with you, oh Imam Hussein. In other words, I'm looking at you, but through you I'm looking at all of my friends out there. And I'm letting you know that I love all of them, because apparently this matters to you. Or وَوَلِيٌّ liman walakum. What? Wilaya is between me and Ahlul Bayt. Who cares about the rest? No, there's a wilaya as well amongst all of us. I have wilaya with the ones who have your wilaya. So what is the string that brings together all the beads? According to Ziyarat Ashura, what is it? The wilaya. That is bringing us all together. Good job, Abbas. This wilaya is bringing us all together, right? Or else I wouldn't say I have wilaya and I am the wali of the one who has your wilaya. I don't say, oh Allah, oh Imam Hussein, I am at war with the one who's at war with me. I am at war with the one who's at war with you. Now this one's going to be interesting. I am at war with the one who's at war with you. In other words, the one who has no wilaya of you and is an enemy of you. I am an enemy of them. This here, and I'm going to say this to myself as well, it's a reminder for myself as well, because look, there's always going to be haters out there, okay? There are always haters out there. Are we going to be at war with our haters? Well, according to this, we have to ask the question, this person who might be at war with me, who might be my hater, who might have a problem with me, whatever it is, and mashallah, we're good at that. We're good at having problems with each other. If that's the case, I will ask myself this question: does this person still have wilayah of Ahlul Bayt? If they do, I'm not going to be at war with them. Yeah, I'll handle the situation. I'll try to navigate things. Yeah, but I'm not. It's not going to be a personal thing where I am at war with them. This is super important. I am only going to be at war. Imam was saying your wilayah is the only thing everything revolves around. If someone doesn't have your wilayah and is at war with you, I'm at war with them. In other words, if someone's not at war with you, I'm not going to be at war with them. But what if they're at war with you personally? They're not at war with Imam Hussein, but they're at war with you. All right, there must have been a mistake somewhere, right? I'm not going to hate you for who you are. I'm not going to dislike what you're doing. I'm not at war with you so that no matter what happens, I want to make sure you die or something. But I will handle the situation appropriately as much as I can. I'll try to navigate things, try to do as much damage control as I can. Now, this is super important. How much does a community build itself if this is the guidelines? If these are the guidelines. وَأَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَى اللَّهِ ثُمَّ إِلَيْكُمْ بِمُوَالَاتِكُمْ. O Imam Hussein, I seek nearness to Allah and to you all Ahlul Bayt. Yeah? Through what? Through your muwalat and having wilayah of you, and also wa muwalati waliyikum, also through the wilayah that I have with those who have your wilayah. It didn't just say ataqarrabu ilallah bimuwalatikum, that I seek closeness to you through your wilayah. O Ahlul Bayt, I am here. I love you. I seek closeness to you through your wilayah and through having wilayah of those who have your wilayah. AKA, there's another wilayah that runs through all of us. In other words, when I am dealing with a Muslim brother or sister, because they have that wilayah in them, it's as if, keyword here, as if, I am dealing with one of the imams directly, as if. Because the only thing that brought me and them together to this point was the wilayah that they carry, that's connected to the imams. If these are the guidelines, think about the community that can be built as a result. But these are the teachings sometimes, yeah, that are either neglected or because they go against that me that we talked about yesterday and the day before, yeah. Because of that me, I can't put that me aside, that ego aside. As a result, this happens. Well, guess what? The wilayah of Ahlul Bayt, as much as me putting aside that me in these situations is deficient, my wilayah of Ahlul Bayt is going to be deficient. So, to wrap it all up, brothers and sisters, and to sum it all up, there's one of those things that it seems shaitan targets, especially during the end of times, and that is the connection that we have as mu'mineen. That connection is a real connection. The reason for that connection is the wilayah that we have, to the point where if we want to gauge our wilayah, one way is to see how much wilayah we have amongst ourselves. And if in this day and age that we live in, we're not careful, we'll lose that for two reasons. Number one, because of the times we're in, I'll just give the example of screens. And I'm holding one right now, unfortunately. Yeah. One of these aunties, she said to me once, I don't listen to you sheikhs with iPads. I was like, I just put my notes in here. I could use a piece of paper, but anyway, it's just cooler with an iPad, you know? So, the times we're in right now, it's so easy to get disconnected from each other. In the past, you would get bored if you weren't connected with people, right? Directly. Why? Because there's nothing else you can do. But nowadays, it's so easy to be disconnected. As a result, we miss out on this physical proximity that we can achieve sometimes, that the Imams have stressed on, the literature that I read for you, number one. And number two, the more and more we go forward, the more and more there's stuff happening, even out here in the West, Muslim lands and here, more and more going on in the sense of more and more programs happening, more and more centers happening. The more of this happens, the more politics there will be. And the more politics there will be, the more there will be some of these problems that we're talking about. And so it's at least, because the situation is not going to change, the circumstances are going to stay the way they are, and it's going to get even maybe more, it's going to get more and more actually, then the least that we can do is keep in mind all of what we talked about. That, hey, let's not lose sight of those things that matter Islamically. Yes, Islam came 1400 years ago, but apparently Allah felt like humanity has reached the point where there's no need for a new religion anymore. These people, from the Prophet's time all the way till our time, they will have the same values. They can uphold the same values, but of course the prerequisite to that is knowledge of these things, and that's why we talk about them. So one of these inspirations that we take from Ashura is that tight-knitness of the community and understanding that this wilayah that we have is going to be something that's never going to let me go to war with another person who has this wilayah. At best, or in the worst case, I will navigate things and be careful, and inshallah if things go back to normal, we're brothers once again and sisters once again. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. These companions of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, there's a couple narrations that I want to share with you, that they asked the Imams, these companions, as they were falling one after another, how much were they suffering? How much pain were they going through? And so these hadiths do mention this. They do make a point of this, that these people were so in love, that ushaq that we talked about before, they were so in love that it was like, now this is something that the narration says, that they, just like the women who cut their hands when they saw Yusuf, فَلَمَّا رَأَيْنَهُ أَكْبَرْنَهُ, they were just baffled. How great is this person? This is not even a person, this is an angel. They didn't feel their hands when they were cutting their hands. Okay? Well, the same thing the Imam says was happening to these companions. Another hadith says that just like Allah, when Ibrahim was flung into the fire, Allah said, Ya nar, kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. Oh fire, don't burn Ibrahim anymore. They removed the effect of that fire. These people were so lost in Hussein. They were so in love with Hussein that they just didn't feel it that much anymore. That is the beauty of Karbala. That is the love we're talking about these nights. One of those companions, we can call him a companion, although he made it last minute, is Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. Thank you, Hurr, for being there and letting your story happen so that me and the others, we can never lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the mercy of Ahlul Bayt. There was a person that he was doing things that were not right. He was carrying wine with him one day. In one of these hadiths it says, and he goes into an alley, Imam al-Sadiq is coming from the other side. He turns away from Imam al-Sadiq, turns towards the wall, hides with that haram content that he had with him. What happens is the Imam passes by, he says, whatever you do, don't turn away from us. This is what the Imams are all about. Hurr, his story is a story of hope for all of us. Hurr, if it wasn't for him, Karbala might not have happened. And so the Imam, as he's making his way to Kufa, because all these letters have come, and everyone's inviting the Imam to their city of Kufa, as they're getting closer and closer, all of a sudden, there's this noise that's coming from far away. And what's happening? Are these palm trees that are getting close to us? What is it? It's the ears of the horses. As this army of 1,000 riders comes closer and closer to the camp and caravan of Imam Hussein, this is the army of Hurr. Hurr intercepts the caravan of Imam Hussein. What do you want? What are you striking all this fear into the hearts of the women and my children? We're here to tell you, you can't come to Kufa. All right, let us go back to Medina then. You can't go back to Medina. What do you want from me? Hurr, ثَكَلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ. May your mother weep over you, O Hurr. He didn't mention Hurr's mom in a bad way. Some people, they might say it in a way that it sounds like that. No. ثَكَلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ means may you die. May your mother weep over you. But it's a mention of Hurr's mother. Guys, remember I said this earlier. If we're gonna make mistakes in life, let's at least keep some of that stuff that we know we can keep for that moment when we have no other hope. Hurr responds and he says, if anyone else had mentioned my mother, I would have retaliated accordingly. But what can I say, that your mother is Fatima to Zahra? I'm not going to say anything. Good job, Hurr. Test number 1 passed. Later on, it says that it was time for Salat. Imam Hussein says, Hurr, what are you going to do? We're going to pray. He said, instead of saying, yeah, I'm going to lead my own army, he says, when you're around Hussein, of course we can't pray behind anybody else. We will pray behind you too. Ahsant, Hurr. Another test that you passed. At least you have those little bits and pieces that you'll need later. And so what does Allah do with this Hurr? He becomes a lover as well, or he was already a lover. It just showed itself now. Brothers and sisters, let's take inspiration from this story. Fast forward to the day of Ashura, as Hurr sees that no, it looks like this is actually going to happen. They're going to actually fight Hussein. What happens is that he reaches a point where he sees himself between heaven and hell. I see myself between Jannah and Nar. Which one am I going to choose? People are seeing him. What's wrong with you? You look a little worried. You look like you're shaken up. What's wrong with you, Hurr? You're one of the champions. You're one of the warriors. If anyone is going to be afraid of anybody, they're going to be afraid of you. I see myself between Jannah and Nar. Eventually, he makes his way towards the camp of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. As he's going to the Imam, he says, Imam, do you forgive me? Imam says, oh, come down, let's talk. No. I struck fear into the hearts of your family. I am the one who didn't allow you to reach the water that you were supposed to. I am the one, when we got here, not only did you give us water, you gave our horses water. Brothers and sisters, Imam Hussein, when they reached him, this army of Hurr, they were thirsty. It says that he was giving them water to the point that these people, they couldn't. They were so in a rush to drink this water. The water is pouring out from the water sacks over their faces. You took care of us, and this is what we did to you, O Hussein. I'm not going to even dismount my horse, some say. And so he goes to the battlefield. He fights valiantly like a warrior, killing off as much of the enemy as he can. And finally he falls to the ground and he calls Abu Abdullah for the first time. Maybe he says, Assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah. The time has come for me. Did I pass the test? Of course you passed your test. Anta hurrun kama sammatka ummuk. Your mom put the right name on you. Your name is Hurr. The way you really are, you are a free man. Take those wings and fly. In those final moments, this person who could have been one of the most wretched finds his head in the lap of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, the first of the Shuhada of Karbala. And not only that, he has this title of Hurr forever. But in those final moments, when his head was on the lap of Hussein, he does not know that a time will come on this same day that Hussein is dragging himself in the sands. Everyone is gone. There is no lap to take the head of Hussein in it. There is no one to wipe the blood from his eyes. It reaches a point that they say, Abu Abdullah feels a heaviness on his chest. Who are you? This is a high place you have climbed. وَالشِّمْرُ جَالِسٌ عَلَى صَدْرِهِ. Shimr on the chest of Abu Abdullah. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. ماتم الحسين يا حسين يا حسين.
حر کا سر ہے حر کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے حر کا سر ہے مرنے والے مرنے والے کیا تیری تقدیر ہے حر کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے حر کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے خوف کیا محشر کا دامن گیر ہے خوف کیا محشر کا دامن گیر ہے ہاتھ میں جب دامن شبیر ہے کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے حر کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے حر کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے آپ نے جو خواب دیکھا تھا خلیل آپ نے جو خواب دیکھا تھا خلیل کربلا اس خواب کی تعبیر ہے حر کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے حر کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے نام ہے میرا زادہ رے حسین میرا زادہ رے حسین نام ہے میرا زادہ رے حسین کام میرا ماتم شبیر ہے حر کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے حر کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے دیکھ امت دیکھ لے اکبر کی لاش دیکھ لے اکبر کی لاش دیکھ امت دیکھ لے اکبر کی لاش یہ نبی کی خوبری تصویر ہے حر کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے حر کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے کٹ رہا ہے تیغ سے شہ کا گلا
ہے تیغ سے شہ کا گلا
کٹ رہا ہے تیغ سے شہ کا گلا اور زالی اور بالی پر کھڑی ہم شیر ہے حر کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے حر کا سر ہے
زانوے شبیر ہے
جوڑتا ہے کیوں کما سے تیر زلف ہے
کیوں کہاں سے تیر
جوڑتا ہے کیوں کما سے تیر زلف حرملا حرملاس غر کی کیا تقصیر ہے
کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے
حر کا سر ہے
زانوے شبیر ہے
لاش اکبر دیکھ کر ماں نے کہا
اکبر دیکھ کر ماں نے کہا
لاش اکبر دیکھ کر ماں نے کہا خواب کیا دیکھے تھے کیا تعبیر ہے حر کا سر ہے
زانوے شبیر ہے ان کا سر ہے زانوے شبیر ہے یا حسین 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 حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ مہمان کو ہمارے مہمان کو ہمارے خیمے میں لے کے آؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ خود یاد ہوگا اس کو پانی تھا اس نے روکا خوددار وہ بہت ہے شرمندہ ہم سے ہوگا پیاسے ہیں سارے بچے اس کو نہ یہ بتاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ دیکھو وہ چل رہا ہے میدان میں لڑکھڑا کر گرنے سے پہلے اکبر اس کو سنبھالو جا کر اے میرے شاہزادے جلدی قدم بڑھاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ عباس اپنے دل سے ہر بات صاف کر دو ماں فاطمہ کے صدقے حر کو معاف کر دو جا کر علم کے اس کو سائے میں لے کے آؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ بیٹا حسین قیدی کیسے کسی کو دیکھے میری طرف سے کھولو تم اس کے ہاتھ جا کے بابا خفا نہیں ہے جا کے اسے بتاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ تم سے بھی پہلے مرنے جائے گا اس کا بیٹا جی بھر کے دیکھ لے وہ اپنے پسر کا چہرہ کم وقت رہ گیا ہے جا کے اسے بتاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین وہ عابد بیمار تھا وہ عابد بیمار تھا چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا اور شام کا بازار تھا اور شام کا بازار تھا تھی مصطفیٰ کی بیٹیاں مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی سینے پہ جو شاخ پلی سینے پہ جو شاخ پلی جس کی ابارن میں جلی جس کی ابارن میں جلی منہ پر تماچوں کے نشان مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین اللہم صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم.
Please get ready for the salat. If you need to do wudu, please do so now.
جگہ بھی شیپ کر لو